Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning to all of you. I bring greetings from the Human Rights Centre of Padova University and myself. I thank Massimo De Marchi for the invitation, and I congratulate him on today's initiatives and on his and his group's work. As Massimo said, I'm a mineralogist, or more appropriately, a geologist. And in the geological history of the Earth, climatic changes have often manifested themselves in a violent form. The study of past climate changes through the proxy indicators as biological, chemical, or physical signature preserved in rocks, sediment, or ice is essential to understand past climate change. In order to understand climate change, it's important to distinguish between climate and weather. Climate change refers to slow changes in temperature and precipitation patterns over long term for a particular area or the Earth as a whole. Moreover, during much of the Earth's history, the geological carbon cycle has been balanced and the climates remained stable. During some times in the Earth's history, that balance has been upset. This can happen during prolonged volcanic activity or associated with significant mountain building events. A non-geological form of carbon cycle imbalance is happening today in the Anthropocene on a very rapid time scale. The process of extracting vast volumes of fossil fuels and converting them to energy and carbon dioxide. By doing so, we are changing the climate faster than has ever happened in the past. The Killing curve showed the increase of carbon dioxide concentration from 1960 to the present. The data refer to the last May 24, and it is noted that the increase is exponential. Unfortunately, there is not enough time to see the entire movie found in YouTube, as you can see. However, it is instructive to observe through the video that the main responsible for the increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide of anthropogenic origins lies in the northern hemisphere. For very complex reasons, the increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere causes a rise in temperature, melting of the ice, an increase in the level of the ocean, acidification of the waters of the oceans, and in summary, the occurrence and intensity of extreme weather events such as hurricanes, heavy precipitation like storms. Extreme weather events led to death, destruction of property and crops, and limited access to food, water, shelter, healthcare, and education. So climate change is a human rights issue, perhaps the biggest in the history of mankind. Continuing to emit greenhouse gases into the atmospheres means not only destroys ecosystem and leading species to extinction, but indirectly violating human rights. Climate change threatens the effective enjoyment of a range of human rights, including those to life, water and sanitation, food, health, housing, self-determination, culture, and development. States have a human rights obligation to prevent the adverse effects of climate change and ensure that those affected by it, particularly those in vulnerable situations, have access to effective remedies and means of adaptation to enjoy lives of human dignity. Making this connection between human rights and an harmonious, healthy planet is possible when one begins to understand the impacts of climate change and the ways in which those impacts affect us, our family and communities, and the communities of the future. The respect for human rights in the face of climate change is climate justice. The concept of climate justice frames global climate change as a political and ethical issue and not just a strictly environmental one. In general, it recognized the need to consider the fairness of the often disproportionate impact of climate change on citizens and community in both developing and developed economies, so that the most vulnerable and poorest in society have often to suffer the greatest impact of the effects of climate change, despite being the less responsible for the emissions that have driven the climate crisis. Climate justice is a process of addressing the climate crisis as a human rights crisis and using the court of law to hold corporations and governments accountable. Through climate justice, finding new days of living and existing is not only possible, but imperative. Climate change exacerbates the vulnerable condition in which millions of people live every day, amplifying the discrimination and problems already present within the society its affect. Recognizing this mechanism means recognize the link between this phenomenon and human rights. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights aims, in the line with the 2030 Agenda and the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, to promote a human rights-based approach to climate action. This requires that states take ambitious adaptation and mitigation measures that are inclusive and respectful of communities affected by climate change. To help state, businesses, and other duty bearers meet this expectation, the office outlined key human rights obligations in the context of climate change as summarized below. Mitigate climate change and prevent its negative human rights impact, ensure that all persons have the necessary capacity to adapt to climate change, ensure accountability and effective remedy for human rights harms caused by climate change, mobilize maximum available resources for sustainable human rights-based development, international cooperation, ensure equity in climate action, guarantee that everyone enjoys the benefit of science and its applications, protect human rights from business harms, guarantee equality and non-discrimination, ensure meaningful and informed participation. In the period 2008-2020, the Council has adopted 10 resolutions related to climate change and human rights. Now, there is no more time to illustrate the resolution one by one. However, I want to emphasize that it is a very significant step for climate justice. Resolution refer to the rights of older person, person with disabilities, human rights of migrants and persons displaced across international borders, rights of the child, right to the health, right to the development, and so on. I conclude my presentation referring Michelle Bachelet's words, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, opening statement to the 42nd session of the Human Rights Council in September 2019. She claimed, climate change is a reality that now affects every region of the world. The human implication of currently projected levels of global heating are catastrophic. Storms are rising and tides could submerge entire island nations and coastal cities. Fires rage through our forest and the ice is melting. We are burning up our future, literally. Therefore, Remedy this tragic situation is, in my opinion, a question of responsibility, collective responsibility through the action of states, supranational, national, local government, and non-governmental organization, but it is also a question of the personal responsibility of individual citizens through virtuous action in everyday life. Thank you for your kind attention.